$72,500. The bid hung in the air. The room was small. Oil men in dark suits. Sweat on the table. Clark sat across the room. His partner. His friend. The man who had taken a chance on him when no one else would. They had built the refinery together. Clark handled the operations. Rockefeller handled the books. It worked because they trusted each other. Then the auction came. The bidding had started at $500 premium, then $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $50,000. The number climbed like a fever. Each bid a small death. Each raise a step away from partnership. At $60,000, Clark paused. He looked at Rockefeller. He looked at the refinery on the papers between them. The same refinery they had built together. The same refinery Clark now had to bid against his own partner to keep. Rockefeller asked if Clark wanted a check. Clark said he would trust him to settle later. Then he walked out forever. Clark walked out. Rockefeller stayed. He did not celebrate. He did not apologize. He wrote a check for $72,500. He owned the refinery alone. The man who trusted him first became the man he outbid. That is not cruelty. That is the moment a boy becomes a competitor. The moment you stop asking for permission and start taking what you earned. Rockefeller recorded the transaction. $72,500. Terms? None. Lender? No one. He did not need to borrow for this one. He had saved enough. The ledger showed him what he could afford. The ledger did not tell him whether he should. He wrote the number anyway. Clark was the first person who said yes. He took a chance on a teenager with a leather folder full of receipts. No family name. No collateral. Just a boy who kept records. Clark believed in him before the banks did. Before anyone did. Then Rockefeller outbid him for everything they built. You know this moment. The promotion your friend wanted. The client your mentor introduced you to. The deal your brother thought was his. You did not start the fight, but you finished it, and you have not stopped replaying it. What no one tells you about winning is this. The person you beat is not your enemy. The person you beat is the person who helped you when you had nothing. And you beat them anyway because the alternative was staying small. The auction was not personal. It was arithmetic. Clark bid what he could afford. Rockefeller bid what he could not. That is the difference between partnership and ownership. Partners share. Owners decide. The oil business was consolidating in 1865. Too many refineries. Too much crude. Prices crashing every week. The only way to survive was to own everything. Clark did not see it. Clark wanted to stay small, stay safe, stay partners. Rockefeller saw the future. The future required him to sit across from his first believer and raise the bid anyway. You know what the room felt like after? The way the silence settled differently. Like the air itself had registered what you chose. You have chosen the work over the person. You have told yourself that the person would understand. And maybe they did. But the relationship was never the same. The wound is not that you won. The wound is that winning cost you someone you needed. And you would do it again. Here is what the room looked like after Clark walked out. Empty. Quiet. The same refinery on the same papers. The number on the check did not change. The silence was the only new thing. Rockefeller did not call it a victory. He did not call it a loss. He wrote $72,500 and moved to the next line. Within a decade, he controlled 90% of American oil. Not because he outbid one man once, because he kept bidding. He kept recording. He kept moving when other men stood still in the wreckage of what they had broken to get where they were. Most people stop at the moment of winning. They carry the face of the person they outgrew. They replay the room. They explain themselves to no one in particular and everyone they meet. They choose growth and then spend the rest of their life apologizing for it. Rockefeller did not apologize, but he did not forget either. That is the part no one teaches. You do not have to choose between guilt and coldness. There is a third thing. You carry the cost clearly. You name it exactly. You do not let it become a story you tell yourself at 3 in the morning, shapeless and growing. You write it down. You give it a number. You put it in the ledger where it cannot expand beyond what it actually was. $72,500. One partnership. One man who walked out. Those are the facts. The facts do not bleed. The story around the facts bleeds. The ledger keeps you in the facts. That is not cruelty. That is discipline. The discipline of a man who understood that grief without a container becomes a reason to stop. And he was not going to stop. Neither are you. The ledger does not offer forgiveness. It offers clarity. $72,500. That is what it cost to become Rockefeller. The number does not judge him. It just sits there, a fact, a proof, a door that closed behind him. You walk through it anyway. You have sat in that room. You have raised the bid. You have watched someone walk out and kept writing numbers. You know what it costs to choose the work over the person and call it arithmetic. Here is what arithmetic does not tell you. It does not tell you that you were right. It does not tell you that the person you outgrew is fine, or that they forgive you, or that it all worked out in the end. It tells you one thing only. This is what happened. This is what it cost. This is what you chose. That is enough to build on. It has always been enough. The people who never build anything are not the ones who made the wrong decision. They are the ones who made the decision and then refused to record it. They keep it loose in their hands, turning it over, looking for a way to make it cost less than it did. The cost does not change, only what you do with it. The notebook does not erase that cost. It shows you where to put it down and what you built in its place. Say the name out loud, not to them, to yourself. The person you outgrew, the relationship that did not survive the decision. Say the name in an empty room. Feel the weight of it. Then open a notebook and write it down. Next to the name, write what you chose. Next to that, write what you built instead. Do not explain it. Do not defend it. Record it. This is the part most people skip. They say the name in their head 1,000 times and never once on paper. They keep it in the place where things grow without edges. The ledger ends that. The ledger gives it a line. A line has a beginning and an end. What lives on paper cannot haunt you the same way. It becomes data. Data you can use. That is what Rockefeller did. Not because he was cold. Because he understood that the ledger is the only place where a decision can sit without needing to justify itself. The column does not ask why. It asks what happened next. You already know what happened next. You built something. You kept moving. The person you outbid had their chance and named their limit. Their limit was not your limit. Say the name. Write the number. Let it sit there. That is your entry. That is how you stop carrying it and start using it. I name the cost and keep moving. I name the cost and keep moving. I name the cost and keep moving.